We're live.
Well, hello and welcome to ACCE Learning Network Hangout. This is Series 4, Episode 28 for 2014. Hi, Amanda.
Hey, Roland.
And it's a place where, Amanda, we can connect and network with our PLN.
And we love it every week. And as usual, if you're watching us live, you can post a question to the panel by going to todaysmeet.com/ACCELN, or on Twitter you can use the hashtag ACCELN, or both, whatever.
I'm Roland Guesthausen, a high school teacher, e-learning leader in Victoria, Australia. I'm also a member of the DLTV. And I just finished my school reports. This is just so awesome. I got that feeling of elation. I've been hospitalised for the last couple of weeks, Amanda, with all sorts of lurgies and grumbles and pipes. I'm starting to look a bit like one of the Borg from Star Trek, but they've got me back on deck now. Got my new phone with my 25 gigabyte download limit. I'm in karma here, actually using the phone tonight to see how it goes with our poor Jean. Amanda.
Well, I'm glad you are feeling much better. And today's health news for me, I have degenerative osteoarthritis occurring in my feet, but it's just because I'm getting so old. Anyway, I'm Amanda Ravlin, I'm an e-learning coordinator in Brisbane, proud QSite member, and this evening we have a very lovely guests with us, and we're going to be exploring making. So our very special guest, Holger, now I can't remember your surname, you made me practice it, Dielenberg?
That's pretty close. It's Holger Dielenberg.
See, similar. Thank you. Would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, hi, I'm Holger Dielenberg. I've started Space Tank Studio, which is a makerspace in North Coburg.
Awesome. I look forward to learning more about it this evening. And Dr. Jason Zagami.
Good evening, all. I'm Jason Zagami, and I teach educational technologies at Griffith University.
Fabulous to have you with us, as usual, one of our regulars. And Narissa.
Oh, hi everyone. Welcome.
Hi.
Hello from Bendigo.
Hi, Riz.
And you're very into makerspaces as well. I've been watching you collate a whole range of different ideas on Google+.
Oh yes, I am into makerspaces. We haven't got one at school yet. I'm principal of primary school in Castlemaine in Victoria, but we are currently fundraising and thinking big. So it's very exciting. So I've done lots of research, and I've got a bit of a Google+ community for Oz makerspaces to see what's possible in primary schools on a small budget.
And making is available on a small budget, so I look forward to following your adventures with that. So wonderful to have you with us. Maybe you'll get some extra ideas. Yay.
Thank you.
And so we're all about, tonight, embracing a new way of making stuff. I love making stuff.
We do. I mean, there's so many things. Sometimes we get depressed by manufacturing industry closing down, and small makerspaces are really becoming the in thing. And I've been hearing a lot about the maker culture, and it really appeals to me. I guess it's got strong links with the steampunk culture, kind of reinventing technology. And I'm kind of curious what's kind of driving this cultural shift, but also the places and spaces that people are doing these things. Blokes kind of lost their sheds sometimes, but we've got this thing called the Space Tank Studio, which popped up in Melbourne, and it's an awesome little project. But I'm not going to steal Holger's thunder. I'm going to let him explain a little bit about what it is about and why this can really be some powerful leverage for inventing technology in art in Melbourne. Holger.
Well, I guess I decided to start a makerspace because of my own frustration of not having access to the right tools or equipment, which often can be prohibitively expensive, or technology. I guess I've been spoiled because I come from a boat building background, as well as 15 years in the film and television industry doing visual effects. So I've had access to fantastic industry standard woodworking equipment, metalworking equipment, and then your whole array of 3D modeling and 3D animation, visual effects software, and 3D scanning, 3D printing, all of that before it was hitting universities. So I started that about 20 years ago, and I stopped in the film industry about 4 to 5 years ago. And so what drove me really to make this space, yeah, came from that frustration of not having access to this equipment because it is prohibitively expensive. And a lot of my maker friends, sculptors, designers, furniture makers, basically all shared the same predicament. I also wanted to make my own stuff, and one way to achieve that goal was to get a warehouse. And I just thought, well, while I'm at it, kitting it out, I may as well kit it out so that it can serve a multitude of people and a multitude of varying skills and styles so that many prosper.
And is it just your old-fashioned workshop, just in a bigger box, or have things changed in the way that perhaps people are doing stuff?
Yes and no. A lot of the way I've approached this studio is old-fashioned in terms of a no-nonsense approach to basically how things work. You know, there's some ways of organising tool scenarios and equipment sets that you just don't muck around with. They work. Don't change that envelope. But one thing that I've really tried to open up is the whole technology side of things. So I've tried to form industry sponsors to support me with the acquisition of things like laser cutting, 3D printing, 3D scanning, as well as our whole wing equipment can get quite expensive. So I've been quite successful on that front where representatives of these technological areas, like equipment suppliers, have come on board and sponsored me with that equipment. So that has helped me a lot to be able to provide more of a broader scope of manufacturing equipment to suit many people's different needs.
So how did you actually initiate that? How did these sponsorships come about?
Well, that's a tricky one. In the beginning, you're telling a story, and people listen to the story and they're inspired, and that's where it stops. And so, as we kind of all know, you just have to make those first steps. You've got to go out there and actually start building the space and taking that risk and showing that you're committed. And you just got to keep on pushing that vision forward until these suppliers start to understand the vision in a more practical sense, because they can see it unfolding. And that's when the dialogue becomes real, and it's when the story turns into a reality. And suddenly those people then realize, oh, okay, for instance, Sigweld have realized, okay, there's a large amount of the manufacturing industry that's closing down around them, and they're seeing more low-volume custom designers emerging, and a lot of these designers want to weld and need to weld. And traditionally, Sigweld has never advertised or marketed their equipment to this sector, whereas my studio has a lot of these kinds of people. So we are a natural, we're a natural well pool for them, and they see the benefit. They see the benefit that if they start to support new designers in our country, then those designers will support them in the future.
And what kind of people are actually using the space to make and create?
Oh, look, I've got such a broad range of people coming and asking if they can use my equipment. I have fashion designers wanting to make like money belts and ID pouches with spring steel clips. They use leather, and they use our laser cutter to engrave and cut that leather. I have knife makers, bespoke kitchen knife makers. We've got some tech wizards who are sort of exploring the whole 3D scanning, 3D printing area of things. We've got quite a few different furniture makers. We have some artists who use all of our scrap materials and make their sculptures and art out of our scrap, basically, which is fantastic. We have some audio-visual furniture designers, one in particular who has made some of the custom audio-visual devices for Mona in Tasmania. We're attracting a lot of different people who cover a very broad range of design, and they're all varying levels of their professional development. Some are straight out of university, others already have their own companies. Yeah, so it's exciting to see that range of people coming.
It sounds certainly very impressive. I think if I was nearby, I'd be there tomorrow to keep making, because my garage is far too tiny and I don't have enough tools yet.
We could all use some more tools. Holger, you've supplied a nice video for us to have a look at. I might cross that now. Perhaps you can give it a bit of a narration if you like, or should we go after one on the video?
Well, the video has a narration on it. It's the rough cut for a teaser that has been made by an independent filmmaker who wants to make a documentary on the maker movement in Australia, and initially he's focusing on Space Tank Studio.
Great. So I'm just hitting play in the video now.
With the giants of the manufacturing industry dying like icebergs, it's time to embrace a new way of making. It is not a coincidence that while large manufacturing companies are closing down, small individual makers are emerging. It's as if a super cycle is ending, but the wheel of ingenuity keeps turning. New ideas and new energy quickly fill the gaps left by the disappearance of our past industry leaders. Artists, craftspeople, inventors, techno-wizards, fashion designers, furniture makers. These creative people go on to inform a new generation of design thinking. They become the drivers of the next super cycle. The people behind these new ideas usually work out of their living rooms or back sheds, and their creativity is hampered by lack of facilities. Makerspaces are popping up all over the world for the same reasons. If you share your resources, more creative individuals can prosper. If you share your ideas, a hybrid of new possibilities emerges. Makerspaces also support a new shift toward a more sustainable ethic of low-volume custom manufacturing, rather than spend a wad of cash on some generic flat-packed, overpriced thing. To offshore pockets, engage a local artisan who uses local products and materials to custom design exactly what you want. Make it local equals less carbon and encourages regional economic stability. It also puts smiles on people's faces. It was important to me from the outset that a balance of traditional machinery and new technology should be available at Space Tank Studio to allow cross-pollination of skills and methodologies. A lot of people don't know the potential of technology like laser cutting or 3D printing. It is inspiring to watch their minds explode when they're introduced to it. Also, it made sense that we try to get industry suppliers of this equipment involved in supporting that vision. After all, the end user and the supplier need each other, and they can help each other. We have some great industry sponsors on board who, already from an early stage of our development, recognise the potential of supporting and giving back to the community that they serve. In this way, a makerspace does not just fulfill one goal of supplying equipment and space to artisans. It can help create a new fabric of connections between designers, industry suppliers, and clients. The world of an individual maker out there on their own can be intimidating and impossibly hard. Makerspaces help provide an ecosystem of connections and solutions that make it easier for them to get ahead. We need to support individual makers because in turn, they will make what we need in the future. I hope to be able to make a positive difference by helping clever and talented people achieve their creative goals.
Thank you, Holger.
Thank you.
And that actually raised a couple of questions from listeners. We have a back channel where people can ask questions. Amanda, would you like to go through some of those for Holger?
Oh, we just had a question from Douglas. Hi, Douglas, who just wants to know if there are people who just come along for fun, if it's, maybe not just those people aiming for professionals in design.
Yeah, look, I get a lot of different queries about all sorts of different things. People need to make a table for an exhibition. Someone needs to make a mold for something that they're making at home. Mainly, though, I have to say, all of the inquiries that I get, or 95% of them, are professional. They're from people who are actually striving to become small businesses or grow small businesses around their abilities. Some of them already have done that and have moved to our space because we are a cheaper option to them. We basically represent, from their point of view, lower overheads. They don't have to pay $40,000 to $60,000 in rent for a warehouse and then fit that warehouse out with all of the equipment that it needs all year. And we operate on a tool gym type. It's like a gym, basically, a fitness gym, but just with tools instead. And I guess later on I'll take you on a bit of a tour. I'll grab my laptop and we'll walk around the studio. You'll see that a lot of the machinery, as probably a lot of you have seen on occasion in the past when you work through different workshops, some of the machinery is big and scary. So that tends to keep the hobbyists away. And that I kind of appreciate that, because I also have a work-safe responsibility here to take care of, and I can't have people using the machinery who don't have the experience. So we have to be very strict about that.
That's good. In some ways, it'd probably be safer to work in a makerspace like that, where you can get some expert advice, than learning the hard way in the school of hard knocks in your backyard by losing your fingers, working out how to use the new drop saw.
Well, that's true, Roland, and often you'll hear from graduates who come out of design universities that they've been taught how to design, and they've been taught design thinking, but they haven't been taught how to use the tools. So that's a common complaint that I hear. There's quite a few designers here who they're fantastic at the things that they make, but they're outsourcing the making of those objects. And so today, for instance, I inducted 2 of our people. One's the audio-visual sort of installateur, and the other guy was the knife maker. And both of them are incredibly skilled in their niche areas of design. And then when you're in front of the 600mm wide thicknesser, or in front of the rip saw through it, you can see that there's a hesitation. And so, of course, that's part of the nice element of this, is that we have that opportunity to add skills to people's toolkits, to their ability to make designs themselves.
Now, talking about the different skill sets that people bring, Riss, you had a question to ask.
Yeah, Holger, I'm interested in bringing the maker culture to primary schools, because I'm very excited about the opportunities I think that can give to kids. And listening to you talk before and in the video about customization and individual and ingenuity and all of the things that you're currently doing in your workplace, it makes me wonder about are there any common skill sets or characteristics of the people that you see coming to work in the makerspace? I guess that the makerspace kind of idea fosters in people. I guess for me, I'm trying to convince other people and people in my own school and other schools that this makerspace stuff is worth looking into, and it's a really good thing for our kids. So I'm wondering what you think about the common characteristics and skills are for the new workforce.
Well, in terms of kids, like going to the beginning of your question, I had a group of kids in yesterday. We were doing a mini-me 3D scanning event, and we had a number of children in here and parents. And if you've been on my Facebook today, you would have seen the latest post where there was a couple of photos of some of these kids and adults being scanned. And one of the interesting things that I noted was the kids take it for granted. as we took, you know, things like radio and television for granted when it first came out, you know. I remember black and white TV, and for me it was just perfectly normal. But of course, for my grandmother, it was amazing. Whereas these kids, you know, they looked at being scanned, and it was just, yeah, okay, that keeps scanning me. You know? And there I am being printed out. Good, can I take it home now? You know. Whereas it was the parents that were going, oh my God, I can't believe what I'm looking at. So getting back to that question of how a makerspace can fit into a young schooling environment, I think the key is to get past the hesitations of the teachers and the adults, because the kids lap it up. The kids love it. It's our own prejudices that get in the way.
Yep. Because I was thinking about that, the things that you were talking about, and really reflecting on the old generation of that style of working in the one big company and, you know, doing the same thing, versus the new style of life and work of having to reinvent all of the time and customize and really keep changing all of the time, and what skills our kids need to be able to do that, the new style of work. So
yeah, and I think too, look, schools have always embraced the excursion. And there are enough makerspaces around, or little facilities around the place, where one way of introducing that concept to children at a very low cost impact to a school is simply arrange an excursion to a facility, and most facilities will welcome it, you know. I remember being in the film industry, and quite often groups of kids would come through.
I can see where that might inspire a group. I mean, Jason, you had a thought there about this is a shared industrial workshop, and the other end of the spectrum would be perhaps someone's backyard, and in between would be a range of different community maker spaces.
I think one of the most powerful aspects I've seen of the community-based makerspaces are that people get together and share their expertise and work together on projects, and that seems to be, particularly for schooling, where the real power is. Rather than access to great facilities, it's more access to the ideas and the enthusiasm of like-minded people to get together and build a dialect or to create something that they've been inspired to engage with. And that's where I see the real engagement with kids, with community-based makerspaces.
And that's probably something that schools aren't very good at doing, because we can maybe building up these silos. We like to specialize and script the learning, and that culture of cross-reflection, spontaneous project building is probably quite alien to schools. But I guess it's something that you see more often in the work that you're doing, Holger.
Yeah, I see it all the time here. Here, I mean, look, we've only been open officially for 1.5 months. And already in that 1.5 months, 7 of our 12 studios are full. And already a hum is developing, that the place is starting to, you know, to hum. And people are helping each other, people are already learning from each other and sharing little tips and tricks. Pieces of furniture have already been finished. And yeah, it's exciting to see. I can't wait to be 1 year from now when it's full and we have casual members and there's just projects everywhere.
I'm just wondering, with the different people working in the spaces, has it ignited any collaborative project yet, or is it mainly people working on their own designs and just assisting each other with the skills?
Mainly at the moment, it's the individual people starting and finishing jobs that they already have, commissions that they may have already had that need to be finished. However, one of the guys who's learning how to use our laser cutter, he and I often sit together on a Thursday for a couple of hours around the laser cutter and just get really excited by everything that this machine can do. And already he and I have come up with probably 3 ideas that we can design using the cross-pollination of the laser cutter and the 3D printer, as well as just fine art and animation principles. So that's a classic example of you know, how, you know, 2 people just basically come together.
Would you like to give us a tour of your facility here?
Absolutely.
And perhaps you can narration while you're doing it.
Yeah, sure. All right. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the laptop and just kind of put it beside me. I can just see what I'm filming there. So what we see here is the main fabrication area of the studio. That's 200 square meters of open fabrication space. And as I walk down, I'll go down past these logs because they just look so beautiful. These will be turned into coffee tables one day. Roland, if you want one, get your order in early, mate.
I want to come make one.
So
that
then
one looks like the Dignia.
I'll swing around, and what we see there is the welding bay with fume extraction. So that arm that comes down from the ceiling is a cantilevered arm with a big flexible pipe on it, and that sucks up all of our welding smoke. We go around, we've got some bench grinders there, all of our welding helmets, drill press. Where's the drill press? There it is. We swing around, and we've got our oxy cutting equipment. So BOC have also sponsored us with all of our gas consumables, which is pretty cool. Thank you, BOC. And we've got some beautiful old machinery like this lovely old hacksaw. Looks like some kind of stegosaurus. A lot of this old machinery I've found at auctions or farm sales, and I've bought them and reconditioned them. So that's a cold cut metal saw, which is quite nice because it's not loud, it's nice and quiet and doesn't produce sparks. So then we move along here, and I'll swing around the corner into my favourite room, which is the clean room. This is where our technology lives. So I'm moving over to the laser cutter. That's the laser cutter there. Love that machine. It's fantastic. Still have to explore all the possibilities that this thing can swing around again. We have our, where is it? That's it there.
Is that a Gutenberg press?
A beautiful old, that's an old NJ printing press. That was donated to me by a very good old friend of mine who also inherited it at Australian printmakers. So it's a real honour to have this press. And one of the things we're trying to do is learn how to use the laser cutter in conjunction with the printing press, so that we can teach artists and printmakers how to use technology and then print those images out from the laser cutter on the printing press. So
that's a really interesting blend of new and old technology. How do you balance that out?
Lots of copper.
Well, look, I guess since I've been in the film industry for 15 years working with animation, I've used a lot of this stuff. And to be honest, the laser cutter is basically like a printer. And a 3D printer is also like a printer. They work in very similar ways. And the software does most of the work for you. So it's more learning that is the real issue. But the machines themselves are actually quite easy to use. So now we go through into the main woodworking workshop, and I'll just swing up to the ceiling. All of those panels that you see on the ceiling are acoustic panels, and you may have noticed that they're in the fabrication room as well. I've done that to reduce the echo in here, to keep the sound down, basically. It keeps it comfortable to work in. So if we swing around, I'll swing around.
Do you have lots of dust extraction built into the space as well?
We have a spindle molder.
I'm fascinated, Amanda, with how I just kind of thought it'd be your modern technology, laser stuff, but it's amazing how you could mesh some of this old technology with the new stuff and come up with new applications. My mind is spinning now about using the laser cutter to print your own kind of your own templates for printing. It's strange, but it makes so much sense for an artist now.
Yeah, it totally does.
Now, I think Holger's probably walked into a part where Wi-Fi access. Oh, he's back again.
I could probably try and go upstairs and show you the studios upstairs, but I might lose you.
Yeah, you've been dropping in and out a little bit, but it's really awesome.
Shall I quickly go upstairs and see if it'll work?
Yeah, try it. That'd be good.
All right. I'll give it a go. And if you do lose me, just stay on. I'll walk through the whole corridor and come back down the other stairs, and we'll be back online again.
We'll entertain the audience with interpretive dance while we wait.
It is. This is like through the USS Enterprise. Tube soon and crawl into that. Every spaceship has got a Jeffries tube.
I was actually thinking about the, the concept of STEM and how some educators are really advocating for the A in STEM to make it STEAM rather than STEM, science, technology, engineering, arts and maths. And I think listening to Holger speak and looking at the things that he's got there, it really shows the connection between the art and the technology and how important that A is to be included in that STEM, that idea of STEM that seems to be taking off in America, but it's a bit slower here for some reason.
Yeah. I think I had Gary Steger, I think you mentioned, that if you're doing it properly, the A will be there anyway. You'll get some good design and you'll get the kind of thinking. Aesthetics will come into the interpretation of what you're kind of inventing. We're a bit scared by the E in STEM, which is engineering, and so we packed a lot of letters around it to help it find its place in the score. We stuck an S on one side and a bit of M, and then the E still confused people, so we made it very clear it's about technology. But it's about all those things. It's about the real world of inventing, creating, building, and making. So I know when I did my interpretive dance, Amanda, that's why I called it the STEAM Cloud Project.
Absolutely, that was awesome. Nice segue.
I'm just saying, Holger's lost upstairs in his attic there. But anyway, I'll wait till he comes down his stairs again, and then we can pick up the thread. Just having a look at today's meet. We had another question too, I think, from our friend Amanda. Just looking back over the list here, and it was about
3D printing software.
Yes, 3D printing software.
Hello, welcome back. We now have two. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I lost you, so I came back downstairs again.
That's okay. You'll have to send us a slideshow at another time, and we'll have the virtual walkthrough. Wi-Fi to be enhanced in the next build, obviously. We've just got a question from our back channel with regards to what kind of 3D, what software you use for your 3D printer.
I have a MakerBot 3D printer, so it uses its own proprietary software. You can use any STL file of geometry, and the MakerBot software basically imports that, and then you tell it the resolution that you'd like to print at. There's a few different settings that you can choose, and it's very simple. There's about 3 or 4 settings, and they are mainly to do with how much fill you want to give a certain volume, and how fine the resolution you want. And as soon as you're happy with that, you click go, and off it goes, basically.
It's complete trivia, but I know the International Space Station now has a 3D printer, and there were some unique challenges they had there, because we kind of assume when you melt a bit of plastic and drop it, it just sits there. They don't. So I'd like to think of the kind of disasters they might have up in space, where something comes out looking like it wasn't meant to come out like that.
Yeah. Yeah, they've come up with a robot arm that squirts out sort of a gelatinous type of goop, which just keeps on sitting on top of itself, and the robot arm can go anywhere and print squiggles in space. It's quite amazing.
That's pretty cool. Hey, a shout out to Margaret Lawson as well, who's on Twitter, and she's just said that her new house will have to have a makerspace where all her gadgets will be located, and that she also wants to learn how to use an arc, learn how to arc weld too. Of course, who wouldn't? That'd be awesome fun.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Constant Chaos. Great to have you on board. Now, another question that I wanted to ask. What do you see as the role that makerspaces play in the landscape of designers, and in particularly the manufacturing market as a whole?
I think traditionally makerspaces have simply provided things to use, and they've provided a place to meet. I want to expand that envelope a little bit. I think makerspaces can play a more important role, particularly in forming links with industry, forming links with universities and schools, and forming links with the design community. You know, we can play an advocacy role and help the professional journey of a lot of makers out there, not just in providing equipment in space, but you know, we can form ecosystems of links to IP lawyers or funding advisors, you know, links to suppliers. You know, I get so many questions from people saying, where can I get this, or where can I buy that? And often these people spend a week or two trying to source whatever it is they're looking for. You know, and makerspaces can kind of fill that gap and provide much more of a service to the people that use or are part of that community. You know, we can be the center of a network of industry, clients, and makers.
It's interesting because it's sometimes very hard for schools to make those connections. Sorry, Amanda.
No, I was just saying it's a bit like our professional learning network of educators is to us. You guys have that with your tools in your space there as well. Hey, do you have any teachers or educators that come to the space?
I want to start developing that next year. I'd like to form more links with universities, particularly because there are such a large volume of graduates who leave design courses every year, and the first thing that happens is they flounder. They leave the nest, so to speak, and they suddenly have no access anymore to that wonderful playground of technology and equipment that was available to them at uni. And they hit the real world right when they're at their peak of and peak of inspiration and peak of desire to make things and design things and go out there, but they don't have anything to actually achieve that. So one of my goals will be, again, in order to fulfill part of that ecosystem, providing that network, is to form a bit of a bridge for these people, so that, you know, it's a stepping stone for them until they kind of have you know, developed some clients or have gotten established enough where they can then move on.
Yeah, so they can build their own maker, professional factory type spaces. I'm sure there's a proper word for that. Design studios.
Yeah, and also, yeah, also universities like RMIT and Monash, for instance, have some amazing equipment that I don't have. And I'm sure that at certain times of the day or year, that equipment sits idle. And it would be fantastic if we could have an arrangement whereby if I have someone who needs a particular kind of machine and RMIT has it, that I can then call up someone at RMIT and say, listen, I've got someone here that needs to use something for 10 hours. And alternatively, I might have a client, someone might come to me and say, look, I have this particular thing I want to make, and I know, okay, so we will need a CAD designer, we'll need a robotics person, and we'll need a software engineer. So then I can go to the universities and say, do you have anyone in third year or doing a master's who would like to get involved with a client and actually do real work for 2 weeks or 3 weeks? And so you're basically making a client happy, making a student experience, and it's all going through the makerspace.
I was wondering, Holger, you mentioned before, a student who leaves university who has access to all this wonderful stuff is going to lose access to it. And you're giving that catalyst a chance for them to build up an idea. It was at your launch, I was interested to meet up with Kelvin, one of our show listeners, and made the comment. He's an incubator for good ideas. He's also a cinematographer, and I think he records some of the stories from the various postgraduate students in their research projects. It'd be great to see the kind of things that you might be doing with these groups in a year's time, if I could revisit.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it myself.
So to be involved in the space, do people have to pay? Do they have to join up, or how does that work?
The way that works is if you want a studio, you pay monthly rent, like when you rent out any kind of creative studio, and then we have workshop passes. So if you have a studio, you get that workshop pass at a massive discount because you're already paying rent here. If you don't have a studio and you're coming in and want a casual membership, so you might want to use the workshop and machinery 8 days a month. Well, you can buy an 8-day pass, a monthly pass that has 8 days, and that will give you 8 days of access, and you can come and basically use whatever you like during that time.
So
the only thing.
So if I was the next Harvey Crumpet and I had my wonderful collection of claymation tools and other bits and pieces, and I was doing some of the recording in one of your studios, is there a way I can actually kind of secure that stuff? I mean, not that anyone can sort of help themselves to that equipment. At least I could have, you know, my things put aside in between my moments of creative genius.
Yes. Well, you may notice up on that side of me here, there's a whole heap of storage boxes up high. So up high around all the studio we have storage boxes. So if you need to store stuff and your studio isn't big enough, we've got all of this storage facility. Getting to usage of tools and some kind of booking system, or the possibility that tools might be taken or booked right when you need to use them. At this stage, because we're just starting up, we haven't actually reached that point yet. I have a feeling, though, that when we hit capacity or a certain critical mass, that, yeah, certainly we may need a calendar system so that people can see, right, the laser cutter is free on Wednesday afternoon, or the bandsaw is free on Tuesday morning, etc.
Mm. Yeah, I'm just conscious of time here, and I'm just aware that might be a good opportunity to start to wind up. Rhys, do you have any last comments you'd like to make?
I was just wondering, just on the very small scale, primary school, the essential items of a makerspace.
Right. Well, so I guess again we're talking about children using these tools. Look, my 4-year-old uses a jigsaw. It's all about supervision. I think the basic tool set are your typical electrical hand tools, and one of the really good ways to approach that these days are your battery tools, because they're lighter. Like my 4-year-old can hold a battery drill easily, and he can cut plywood with my battery jigsaw easily. I sometimes have to hold his hand with him while he does it, but he's only 4, so if if you have a student who's 8 or 12 years old, then they're going to be fine with battery tools and your typical hand tools. One of the things I think that you could invest in that would just simply inspire the kids is try and get the cheapest handheld 3D scanner you can, and the cheapest 3D FDM printer, and find a technician from some design course at university who's willing to come in once a month and run little workshops.
Thank you for that. Sounds good. Did you want to just give us a little tell us about your workshops that you do for kids when they come in?
Myself here at Space Tank?
Yeah.
At the moment, we don't have any workshops yet. We did do the 3D scanning mini-me session yesterday. But definitely next year we've got a whole range of courses that we'd like to roll out, and you know that includes welding through to woodwork, laser cutting, 3D printing, life drawing, life painting, as well as a range of craft activities that children can get involved in. So yeah, I don't have a definitive list at this stage, but there's a lot of ideas floating around of what we could do.
Yeah, great. Sounds good.
If you're stuck for ideas, I'm sure we can help.
Make it, do some work with the holiday program if you're still with the CSIRO. I wonder if you could give us a bit of a wind-up, Holger, just a summary of the kind of things that you see happening, where you see it going, but also perhaps how it might be used by schools or even primary schools if they were to organise a visit or to book it out for a day.
Yeah, well, look, the way I see it going is, I think from this point on, it's going to start to take on a life of its own, which is exactly what creative studios do, and that is awesome. I'd like to actually start taking a back step and just make sure the place runs and let the people who use it start to take control. So that's sort of that question. But in terms of schools, look, there is a range of things we could do. You know, there are so many different little woodworking projects that you could organise, which could include, for instance, laser cutting. The children could start that in the classroom where they do their own little drawings. All the teachers have to do is scan those drawings or even just photograph them with a digital camera on a white background. We can pass that through into the laser cutter. We can make puzzles for them with the laser cutter. You know, they might model things out of Fimo. We scan them and 3D print them for them. There's such a range of different classes that you could dream up for any number of different applications or learning projects for schools. And it's really a matter of teachers getting in contact and saying, you know, A, what is possible, B, we've got these ideas, you know, and then a dialogue starts.
I've been inspired by the launch that I came along to, I think it was a month and a half ago, and you've spent a lot of time at it over the year, building up this place and space, and I think what seems to have made it work by talking to the people at the launch, you had a really authentic ear to listening to what artists, designers, and technologists really wanted. And I'm excited also that you've taken a step towards making this available for even students who graduate and don't have access to these tools. Now they've got a chance to sort of realize their vision, play in a space that can allow them to demonstrate the kind of skills that they have and give them a step up into a much bigger world. I wish you all the best with your endeavor, Holger, and I'd love to catch up to see how it goes, and perhaps even if some of the artists or technologists like to talk about some of the projects they're doing. I think that'd make an interesting session.
Thank you very much, Roland. We will be having another big party in March next year, so I'll make sure that I extend an invitation to you all.
I'll book my plane ticket. Just let me know when.
Thank you.
And I've been inspired by, I guess, the open sense of creativity and collaboration that this type of space allows, and just the fact that you've got it together and then people are coming and it's already got that sense of buzz is really good. But now I want to get a group together and as Jason suggested, we make a Dalek and maybe we can add some programming to make it come alive as well. And I did bring with me something I made earlier. It's not nearly as exciting as what you guys probably make, but look, I made a Jenga stool the other weekend and I coloured it blue and yellow for me and my daughter and red for my sister, as you do. I'm a bit obsessed with blue. So We brought props. Thank you. But of course, I have serious tool and space envy for what you've got there in that fabulous warehouse. It looks so good. I've also picked up some notes on what to get my 3-year-old for Christmas, and maybe I won't be sharing the miter saw yet, but I do like the idea of the battery-powered tools and helping her to create some things as well. And maybe I need to get a crew together here in Brisbane, Vegas, or investigate if there's one already. Hey, Roland, did you bring a prop too?
I did, yeah. It's a small one. This is my son Neil's made this. It's just this wooden thing. I think I broke it actually. I have to. But it's partly a kit, and it's partly him remashing that kit into something it wasn't supposed to do. But
that's cute.
Yeah, flying man, learn how to do it. It's good, and it's nice that you can kind of do that stuff and rebuild it and remash it. I'd like to see maybe we build the next makerspace for the Queensland conference, and that's coming up too, isn't it, Amanda? 2 years' time. We have a giant pit full of stuff that people can make something and then share it.
Yeah, I can bring in some of my tools and share them with others. I'm sure the convention centre will allow like saws and tools and all things like that. No worries.
You've got to keep hearing it from me. It's ACCEN 2016.
And we've just decided that's what we're going to have there.
Yeah.
And next week we're going to have another ACCELN broadcast. Roland, do you have a teaser or the details for that?
Yep, it's going to be involving some really cool computational thinkers and programmers and educators from New Zealand. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be probably our second last show for the year. But also, I'm thinking of doing an open mic, Amanda, for the last session. So we're hoping
what was
for
that
some.
You want me to sing again?
Something to launch into the Yuletide. To help celebrate Saturnalia and Christmas and New Seasons or whatever we want. But I'd like something to kick off the summer break, to think about the kind of things we'd like to talk about on an open mic.
I'm sure we can come up with something. Many things to reflect on from this year.
Margaret, everybody else who's out there, and I'll throw to Amanda for the close.
Now, if you want to come along to our next Hangout next week, stay tuned to our Google Plus community, the ACCE Learning Network, or you can have a look at our Wikispaces page, acceln.wikispaces.com, and you can also view all of our past recordings there, maybe as a cramming to fit in before the open mic end of year celebration. Anyway, looking forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you very much. Bye all.
Good night.